My name is Jamie Love. Welcome back to part 2 with Loren Lockman. And we're talking about the optimal raw food diet that he recommends. He is a world-renowned fasting expert, and he runs the world's largest water fasting retreat in Costa Rica called Tanglewood. So let's go ahead and invite him on. Please stay tuned. We've been having a little bit of technical difficulties. I apologize. Thank you guys for your patience. No, he's not coming on. I think he's going to call it a day, maybe. Lauren, invite. I don't see him coming on. Dang it. Oh, there he is. Okay. Lauren, do you see? Oh, okay.
Hello there.
Whoa, and I can see you.
Yeah, well, you can see me too. Wow. Okay.
Okay. All right. So part 2, you guys, welcome back. We're here with Loren Lockman. It was just we just had like an hour, almost an hour and a half conversation. So definitely go back and listen to part 1, and we're just going to finish off the rest of the conversation here. So stay tuned. And where did we leave off?
Let's see. I think
We did the onions. We were talking about the onions. We were getting into the electrolyte, the magnesium.
right.
See
That's right.
what fasting does to your brain?
Yeah. I was telling a story about a woman who eventually did come to fast with me. It took me a little while to convince her, but she did come to fast. Good to see you too, JJ. And she understood no supplements while fasting. So she stopped taking the magnesium supplements just when she started her fast, just before. And within about 5 days, she started to have symptoms of magnesium deficiency. This has been, as I said, 13 or 14 years, so I don't remember exactly what those symptoms were. But have no sound. Can everyone else hear?
Oh, shoot.
Spiritology says there's no sound.
Uh-oh. Let me type.
So,
Sound works. Somebody said sound works. Got to be your headphones.
yeah, check your headphones, check your volume. In any case, about 5 days in, she starts to have these symptoms of magnesium deficiency. And I convinced her to hang in there and keep going. By around day, I want to say 14 or 15, but again, it's been a while. By around then, all the symptoms of magnesium deficiency were gone. Now, I saw her 2 or 3 more times over the next several years because I used to go to Arizona every year to speak. Phoenix, Sedona, Yuma, and I would run into her. She would come to some of my events. I ran into her at a big event outside of Phoenix, Sedona actually, where I was a speaker, and she was there eating exactly the same diet she was eating before. She had no more deficiency. So deficiencies happen for 2 reasons, okay? And I don't know who asked about the iron question, but remember, I live on fruit, maybe on average, probably 9 times a week, something like that. A couple of salads per week. That's, I might eat 12 or 13 meals a week, and they're going to mostly be fruit and maybe 3 salads. Or sometimes I'll eat fruit with some lettuce. No iron deficiency. Okay, so there's only 2 reasons for a deficiency. One is the diet itself is insufficient. Okay, if you're not getting the nutrients, you're going to have an issue. Okay, but the second reason, which is the one a lot of people ignore, is that your body isn't able to properly get what it needs from the food, even if the nutrients are there. So let's talk, again, we're talking about magnesium here. Okay, as many of you may know already, the central atom in the chlorophyll molecule is magnesium. So if you are eating green foods, and she was eating a big salad for dinner every single night, you're getting tons of magnesium. It wasn't that she didn't get the magnesium she needed into her mouth. It was getting into her mouth. It wasn't getting to her cells. She wasn't digesting, absorbing, assimilating, using it, something somewhere between putting it in the mouth and getting it, her body being able to use it wasn't happening properly. But it wasn't that she wasn't getting enough. Now, obviously, if you take a massive magnesium supplement, you flood the bloodstream with magnesium, your chances of getting what you need are better. But you shouldn't need to do that. You heard me say earlier, well, if you were here earlier, if you weren't here, you didn't hear me say, I don't take any supplements. I haven't had a supplement now in almost 32 years, okay? Only fruit and salad. I don't take any vitamin D. I don't take any B12. I've been vegan for 37 years. We shouldn't need to do this. There are 5 million animal species that don't eat animals, and they need B12 too, okay? We make all the B12 we need in our gut. So, and again, we probably need to go there anyway, but we're talking about metals, talking about minerals. We should be able to get what we need in trace amounts from the foods that we eat. The problem with most people's bodies is that they're not working very well. So she fasted 21 days, eliminated the magnesium deficiency apparently permanently. And we've seen this over and over again, including with iron. Okay, so exactly why it occurs, I don't know, but it's an imbalance in the body. We get the body clean and hydrated, and you're going to get what you need. In most cases, for someone who's got a deficiency, the first thing that I would do, if it were me, I would fast to get my body as clean as possible to balance everything, and then I would go back to eating the natural diet that we're meant for. Okay, we should not take supplements. And again, I know this is controversial, and I realize, if you live in Seattle, London, a lot of places on the planet, you're not going to get enough vitamin D. Okay, virtually everybody in Scandinavia is vitamin D deficient and are tested a couple times a year. And if you live in these places and can't travel frequently enough to get into some sunshine, then you might need to take a vitamin D supplement. But you should be aware that there are now multiple studies that show that the more vitamin D you supplement with, the higher the risk of bone fracture. And we need vitamin D to grow strong bones, but we're meant to get sunlight, okay? We're meant to get sunlight. We're meant to be in place. We're tropical animals. We're meant to be running around naked in the tropics. We wouldn't be.
I would love to be in the tropics running around naked right now.
Me too. So it's important to understand. I mean, we should not need to supplement, but we do need to get sunlight. Okay, now if you can't get enough sunlight, you might need to supplement, but you want to take only what you need to get your needs met, because the more you take, the more danger you put yourself in. Okay, and the same is true, by the way, with most mineral supplements. The minerals in the supplement are the cheapest variety. I mean, with iron, there are many different types of iron, many different ways iron is found. Okay, most supplements contain iron that is not easily absorbed by the body. And we're not meant to get it that way. We're meant to get it from our food. We don't need much. Okay, so eating mostly fruits, I mean, fruits have more water, more enzymes, more vitamins. By the way, the water is the most important thing, and they're loaded with it. They have less protein and they have less minerals than vegetables. But we don't want a lot of protein. We already talked about that. If you didn't hear the first part, go back and listen to that. And we don't need a lot of minerals once the body's in balance. Okay, we just don't need them, because when the body's in balance, the minerals stay balanced. So we don't have to be consuming a lot of minerals. Okay, so I don't worry about any of those things. You shouldn't either. But if you have it in balance, you probably need to give your body a chance to cleanse and heal via fasting. Get it hydrated, you'll find it won't be an issue. Okay, we've seen this all the time.
It's so amazing when you think about when you're fasting, you're not eating anything. So your body just at its most natural state of homeostasis, everything would just naturally be in balance.
Well, the
right?
body works to bring everything into balance in the absence of food. It can do that. I mean, again, this one's not about fasting, but for people listening, if you're not familiar with fasting, it sounds crazy to a lot of people. But remember, every species on the planet does this. They used to teach doctors how to supervise fasts until pharma took over medicine 114 years ago. Medicine used to be about helping people get healthy. Now doctors don't even know how to be healthy. They don't know anything about health, really, most of them. Obviously, there's exceptions. But medicine is not about health. It's about selling pharmaceutical drugs for the most part. And so, we should be able to get our bodies working properly and then eat the natural diet that our bodies are meant for. Okay, with B12, again, a lot of people are deficient in B12. Some people believe that if you're vegetarian or vegan, you have to supplement. There's a lot of mythology around this. Okay, first of all, most people on the planet are deficient in B12, even if they're eating animal products 5 times a day. Okay, it's not important how much B12 is in the bloodstream, and so serum B12 tests, which are blood tests, aren't even particularly useful because all they're going to tell you is what's in the bloodstream, not what's actually getting to the cells. Most people can't absorb B12 very well, and there are various reasons for that. I believe the biggest reason is dehydration. Okay, so I have not supplemented, as I said earlier, with anything in nearly 32 years. My B12 is perfectly fine. Okay, we make in our colon, you can't see because it's down here where most people call the stomach is actually the large intestine. The stomach is actually much higher up in here, but in the large intestine, your gut biome, which is 10 trillion bacteria, roughly 3 pounds bacteria, it's called the second brain. It weighs as much as the brain, and it produces all the B vitamins every day, including B12. Now, for years, people said, yeah, but it's too far down the digestive tract, you can't absorb it. Now there are scientists saying, well, some people seem to be able to absorb it. And I believe the people who can do it are the ones who are better hydrated. And I think that's the reason why. So
we do have yeah, no, finish, and then there's a question.
I was just going to point out again, analogous to the problem with vitamin D, the research now says the more B12 you take in supplement form, the higher the risk of death from all causes. So if you need B12, you want to supplement, but no more than you need to. But ultimately, we want to address the underlying issues. Okay, and I mean, the cool thing is we don't have to know what the underlying issues are. The body knows exactly what it needs to do. And so again, fasting simply allows us to get out of the body's way so it can create the right conditions that we get what we need. Okay?
Okay, so someone is saying here, I have a question. Lately, when I eat fruit, I get a bit tired. Like today, I had dragon fruit and then a little after 3 oranges. Could I be overeating? I only eat fruit and salad, by the way. I do eat avocados for fats in the evenings.
Okay, so first of all, because you just read it, Jamie, you just said it, writer, whoever you are. I'm not sure who said that, but it's important if you're going to eat concentrated fats, they should only be consumed at night. Okay, and the reason why is because it can take 15 to 16 hours for the body to take all the excess fat out of the bloodstream. While it's in the bloodstream, you become more insulin resistant. Okay, and so if you have a salad with avocado in the middle of the day, and then you have dragon fruit in the evening, if you reverse the order of those meals, you would wind up becoming much more insulin resistant and having blood sugar and insulin issues. You don't want either of those things to be in your bloodstream any more than necessary. And that's what happens. So you want to make sure that only at the last meal of the day you're having fat and not combined with sweet. Okay, and again, it's an exception I'll make every once in a while, but not something I'll do consistently. You want to separate those things. Eat the fat with things that don't contain sugar, like lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, etc. Eat the sweet fruits by themselves earlier before the fat. Okay? That's always going to be a better way to do it. I'm sorry, what was the other part of that question?
She gets tired, wants to know if she's overeating, but
Yeah. Well, so it's possible that you're tired because you're overeating. It's also possible that you're tired because, I don't know anything about you. I don't know who you are. I don't know how long you've been eating this way. But if you are transitioning, if you're doing this for a relatively short amount of time, the fruit, which is hydrating, and salad as well, allows your body to detoxify much faster than eating other things. And so I see people all the time. The longest I've seen, I think, was 22 years eating a diet of fruit and salad. She was doing pretty well. She wasn't feeling tired, but she definitely wasn't at her optimal. And she fasted with me for 21 days, eliminated many, many pounds of old hard material, and felt like a new person. So accomplished in 20 21 days, which he didn't accomplish in 22 years eating perfectly. Okay, eating perfectly, in my opinion, eating perfectly. So, I mean, again, fasting is just so much more powerful. You would probably find the same thing. You know, if you're feeling sluggish after meals, it could be that you're rehydrating stuff still in the intestinal tract, and that means you're going to reabsorb toxins from it. You're not going to feel very well. You know, there's a number of possible reasons, but it all comes down to your body cleansing and healing. It's not I mean, it's unlikely. You could check your blood sugar, but that shouldn't be a problem. You know, for most people, if the blood sugar goes up a little bit, when typically you eat fruit, it's going to elevate a little bit, and then the body's going to bring it back down where it should be within a couple hours. But if if your blood sugar were low, you might be low in energy. When it's high, if anything, you're going to feel more energized. So it's not likely that. Okay, I hope that helps.
She said,
all right.
Great info. Yeah.
All right. Other questions?
Anybody
I'm trying
else?
to think. I know of at least one other subject I think it's important that we get to.
Okay.
And this is one that there are people out there who would tell you that you need. In fact, let me support it this way. Let me say the statement this way. There's studies that show that the people with the greatest variety in their diet have the healthiest gut biome. Okay.
Oh, that's big right now. That's big going around. Yeah.
Right.
The hot topic of the year. Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, you know, first of all, there are people out there, hopefully not so many, who think, you know, science is bad. Like, you can't trust science. Science is just an intelligent way of trying to understand the world. There's nothing wrong with science. Obviously, there's a lot of crooked science. You know, I can give you a few examples. Back in the 80s, I think, was the first study published that said that having 1 or 2 alcoholic drinks per day was good for you. And they said that because the studies showed that people who had a couple drinks had lower blood pressure. Now, why would that happen? Because they're relaxed. Okay? It's absolutely true that having a drink or two will relax you and can lower your blood pressure. But alcohol is a cellular poison. So it's also true that you'll die faster if you drink it, and create all kinds of issues. And the thing is, I think we make a mistake because we'll ask, I mean, you know, what we'll ask is this, are there benefits to this, without asking what the other side is, right? So alcohol is definitely harmful to us. It kills living cells on contact. It actually has a really terrible impact on our health. And that's why I gave it up 38 years ago and would never consume it again. There's no reason to. Now, our bodies, of course, our livers are meant to be able to handle tiny amounts of alcohol. Why? Well, you ever bite into a fermented mango or pineapple? Because fruit contains sugar, it will ferment. And, you know, imagine if 1 drop of alcohol would kill you. You bite into the wrong fruit and that was it. Our bodies have to be able to handle a little bit of alcohol, but not by the glassful or the bottleful. That's a problem. Okay?
Right.
So, and here's the thing. I mean, yes, there's a benefit, but there's all this harm. And the question we need to ask is, are there other ways to get the benefits? Well, yeah, you could meditate, practice yoga, have sex with someone you love, go into nature, be physically active. All these things have the same effect, but they're actually good for you instead of bad for you. Okay?
Yeah, I honestly feel like I'm like high all the time. Like I just have this natural like bubbliness.
Right. In my case, it's because I consumed so much stuff in my 20s. I am still high all the time. But the real question is, who paid for that? Because studies are expensive to conduct. Who paid for that study? That study was paid for by Seagram's International, the largest distiller of alcoholic spirits in the world. They own probably 50 different brands. They make everything from some of you probably know Seagram's gin or vodka, but they make beer and wine and hard cider, every type of tequila, everything you can think of. Okay, they have the most to gain from having you believe that. Most of you, many of you, probably all the women, probably the guys too, will have heard about the study that said chocolate's good for you. Right?
Yeah. Well, anything. You can find studies saying anything's good for you.
Well, there's certainly a lot of them. And I mean, again, are there beneficial nutrients in chocolate? There are. Are there other ways to get them that aren't harmful to you? Because chocolate contains theobromine, which is very much like caffeine. It's a stimulant, and stimulants interrupt the signal so you don't feel tired. They don't make you less tired. They don't give you energy. You just don't feel your tiredness.
Oh,
And what happens as a result of that is you wind up destroying your adrenal glands because you wind up running on adrenaline since there is no more energy. Okay, it's not a good thing. It's not a good idea. Who do you think published the study saying that chocolate was good for you? Who paid for that?
chocolate company.
Yeah, Nestle is the largest manufacturer of chocolate in the world. They had a lot to gain. You know, they get, let's say, 10% of every dollar spent on chocolate. I don't know what the real number is, but some percentage of every dollar goes to Nestle's. You know, Hershey's is smaller. They only get a penny out of that. They're getting a lot more. They're going to pay for the study because it's going to drive chocolate sales, and that's what they want. So we want to understand that while studies are valid, first of all, we need to look and see who's paid for them, and second, even the real, true, 100% pure research, we have to understand that it's not about what happens; it's about how you interpret what happens. So, I'm in agreement 100% that people, when we look at the general population, people with the greatest dietary variety have a healthier gut biome. But what does that mean? First of all, when they perform a study like this, who are they looking at? Did they ring your doorbell? They call you? They didn't contact me. You know, statistically, they are looking at people eating conventionally. Okay, that's who are in these studies. That's. I mean, they've got 1,000 people. Chances are really high because we're not 1/10 of 1% of the population. People who eat this way, so we're not likely to be represented at all. Maybe one person sneaks into a study like that, but that's it. The vast majority of data points are going to be people eating a conventional diet, putting it into a body that doesn't work very well. And when I say that, remember, folks, 80% of the population dies of cancer, heart disease, or stroke. No one needs to. No one. These are not natural things. They're normal, but they're not natural. They happen because of our choices.
And you could argue too that even a cooked vegan diet is part of the standard American diet, right? Could you?
Well, even a cooked vegan diet will damage the body in various ways, not the same as a standard American diet. But
Right.
it's better. The question is, how much better is it, right? And we have, this is another really important piece that I'll come back to if time allows for, because it's so important to understand. But I want to stay here for a second. So, what do most people eat? Who are these people? What are the people that we're looking at in these studies? What are they eating on average? Well, on average, they're getting 63% of their calories from ultra-processed foods. Okay, bread, by the way, is considered an ultra-processed food. It looks nothing like the grain. It looks nothing like the bread people would have made on the frontier, 200 years ago. Nothing like that. It's chemicals. It's ultra-processed. They're getting 63% of their calories from ultra-processed foods. They're getting 35% of their calories from animal products. 98% of their calories are from things that do not belong in the human body and are harmful to it. So, if the average person gets 2% of their calories from produce, from plants, who are the people? What are they doing that have the greater dietary variety? These are people that are eating more fruits and vegetables. It's not more animal products. It's not more processed foods. It's more fruits and vegetables. Of course, those people are healthier, but that doesn't mean we should interpret that to mean that we should look for the greatest variability in our diet. Okay, think about animals in nature. Anteaters eat what? It's a tough one. Ants. Rats and goats eat grass. Cows, sheep, and goats eat grass and little green plants. Okay, as I said before, deer and giraffes eat the leaves off of plants, off trees for giraffes, and smaller shrubs and so forth for deer. Okay, every species has its natural diet. And in some cases, their diet is very, very limited. Are they not healthy because they don't have a wide variety of things in their diet? No, absolutely not. What we need is a healthy gut biome for the diet that our bodies are meant for. Okay, now, there are people out there that will tell you, you should eat broccoli, kale, cauliflower, cabbage, okay, cruciferous vegetables, because they've got lots of nutrients, and they do. But folks, it doesn't matter what nutrients something has. Again, it's not what goes into the pie hole that matters. Okay, it's what is getting to your cells. That's the only thing that's important. There are now multiple studies that show that you can take a group of people, feed them kale, cabbage, cauliflower, whatever, and they'll measure.
I lost you.
I'm going to look for my cable because I see that my battery is getting close to the end of its life here. Vitamin A equivalency units tell us how much vitamin A the body can make from carotenes, okay? Because we need vitamin A, and there's no vitamin A available for plants. And this, by the way, is one of the things that carnivore type people will say, well, that's why you have to eat animal products to get the vitamin, and one of the reasons, right? There's 5 million animals roughly that don't eat animals. They need vitamin A too. Where do they get it? They get it from eating plants. Okay? Our bodies get all we need from converting carotenes, which are found in orange fruits and vegetables, and green leaves. So these green leaves have carotenes in them, and they calculate how much vitamin A could one get from the carotenes. Then they do something interesting. They measure after the fact to see how much vitamin A actually shows up in the body. Okay? Then they take the same people at a different time, different day, and they give them a serving of mangoes or papayas, which obviously contain carotenes, to see how much they get from that. And what they find in every study is that people on average get twice as many carotenes from the fruit as they do from the vegetables. Okay? But here's the thing that's really important. The serving of vegetables they gave them contained twice the vitamin A equivalency units as the fruit, which means it's 4 times more efficient to get it from fruit than vegetables. Okay, I don't eat kale, cabbage, broccoli. I mean, every once in a while if it's in a dish somewhere, but I don't buy them. I don't eat them. I'm staying with a friend of mine. He's growing these things, and he said, "You want some of this?" I'm like, "No, I do not. I'll have lettuce, thank you." That's all my body needs. Okay, there's no reason.
Someone said, you better save this live, girl, or I'm going to find you. It's good stuff, Loren.
Yeah, good. Okay, so I want everyone to understand. I mean, we have a natural diet. We don't eat anything that's not natural for our bodies. You know, the chimps and bonobos, they get a really good price on their greens. They're free. They pull them off of plants. Okay, and they'll take the tip of a soft leaf. They'll eat the tip and they'll throw the rest away. Why? Because a leaf grows from the tip. So the tip is always the youngest part of the leaf. And they'll eat the softest part of a soft leaf and discard the rest of it. Okay, here we are. Now, I've got a simple rule, folks. If you can take a leafy green and make a pair of shoes out of it, don't eat it. Okay? Now, if it's that tough, it's not something we should be consuming because we're going to have a hard time digesting it. Okay? We don't benefit from things we can't absorb. We can't assimilate what we don't absorb. We can't absorb what we don't digest.
Which greens are acceptable?
Well, the best ones really for us are going to be lettuces. Okay? Because lettuces, they need to be soft. They need to be non-strong tasting. So again, I'm gonna shift the perspective a little bit. This might be a new way to look at this for some people, but every organism on the planet wants the same thing. They want to survive. In fact, the number one goal for every organism is to make as many copies of themselves as possible. Okay, you and I have agreements that say, okay, I'm not going to jump on every attractive person of the opposite sex, no matter how much you might want to, because that's not acceptable. But in the animal kingdom, that often is what happens, right? If the female's in heat, every male is going to try to, because they want to make as many copies as they can. It's no different in the plant world. Plants do not want to be eaten. They don't want to be eaten, okay? They want to survive so they can reproduce. And so what many plants do, I mean, some plants try to protect themselves mechanically. We had a grove of trees at a property I had for 6 years, 20 years ago, where Tanglewood was located in the tropics. And the trees, when they were small, had very sharp spikes on the trunk, which makes it hard for a deer or another animal to try to eat it. As soon as the trees become woody enough, hard enough, big enough, all the spikes fall off because there's no point for the tree to keep supporting that when they don't need it anymore. Okay, so there's a mechanical way to do it. But a lot of plants protect themselves by making themselves toxic. Why does poison oak, poison ivy, poison sumac burn your skin, make your skin blister? They don't want to get eaten. They're trying to protect themselves from being eaten. Okay? Why is deadly nightshade? Why are deadly nightshade berries deadly? Tobacco leaves, incredibly toxic. No species that I know of can eat tobacco leaves except rabbits. And they've gone to the trouble of evolving to be able to break down, to metabolize that poison. Every other species dies if they eat enough tobacco.
That's really interesting, though. Why would a plant want to protect itself? Is there a level of intelligence there? Is it just in the DNA of the plant?
Well, I can't, I don't know how your holly bush is going to do on the SAT test. I'm not sure about, I think the level of intelligence might be a little different, but every species is naturally imbued with the desire to survive from the species. It's not like the individual plant is necessarily saying something, although there's a lot out there that most people aren't aware of. Now, if you go out into the forest and start chopping on a tree, that tree sends signals to the other trees.
Wow.
Yeah. It's incredible.
There is a level of communication. It's so funny because like plants will lean towards the sun,
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, that was a little off topic. I was just curious when you said that.
There's a lot more going on there than most people are aware of.
Yeah.
Nature has this amazing level of intelligence. And so plants, again, the whole point, I would suggest, people often say, if we're not meant to eat that plant, broccoli, for instance, why does it exist? I've heard this 1,000 times. Every plant, every organism is just another expression of life. Wow. And it wants to exist for its own benefit. It's not doing anything for us. Okay? Fruit trees are no different. I've got dozens of mango trees on my property. Okay? I'm pretty confident that those mango trees are not looking over at us in the building and saying, those look like really nice people. I'm gonna put a lot of energy into making mangoes so those nice people can have something to eat. They don't care about us. What they're trying to do is get their seeds distributed so they can make as many copies as possible. Because if they drop their seeds under the tree, they're going to have a hard time competing with a mature tree. They need sunlight, they need water and nutrients, and their parent tree has this developed root system that little sapling isn't going to do very well, right? The seedling. So the trees want to move their seeds away. All trees do. Maple trees use a little propeller dealy to fly their trees. Cottonwood trees, it's a little cotton ball with seeds inside. It flies off in the wind. Some trees make seeds that stick to the fur of a chipmunk or a squirrel or a monkey or something else and then land on the ground somewhere. It's a gamble, hopefully that some percentage of them wind up in a place where they can grow. I've looked at numbers. If only 1% of the seeds make it, eventually that species is going to be very successful. Okay, it's going to make more copies all the time. Okay, if 1 out of 100 seeds makes it. So some of the seeds aren't going to wind up in places where they're going to thrive, but that's why trees make fruit. They don't care about us. They're competing for animal consumers to get their seeds distributed. Okay, so eating fruit, people say, well, you're eating plants. Eating fruit does not harm the mango tree. It helps the mango tree. It's helping the tree to make more copies. Lettuce, if you pull the plant out of the ground, you've killed the plant. You can, if you want, you can just pull the leaves off and eat those. That's not what usually happens. But lettuces are going to be your best bet because they're soft, they're tender, they're easy to digest, and they're almost completely non-toxic. Like all plants, almost all plants, they have a little bit of toxicity. But a lot of plants have a lot of toxicity. Okay, so lettuces are going to be probably your best bet in terms of leaves. And the good news is there's like 24 different types. Okay. Now, also important, I think, for people to understand that fruits are a fleshy covering of seed. Okay, so cucumbers, avocados, peppers are all fruits. Squashes are all fruits.
Would there be a reason? I saw this woman saying she doesn't eat the seeds in cucumbers. Would there be a reason not to eat seeds?
Well, fruit seeds are also usually toxic. If you took the seeds from apples and just put them in a cup, you had a half a cup of apple seeds, and you were to chew them up and swallow them, that's enough cyanide to kill you. But here's the thing. I mean, obviously, if you eat, you chew up one by accident, it's not really a big deal. It's okay. But it's poison. It's pretty strong poison. And the reason they do that, again, is because the whole point of the fruit is to get the seeds into the ground so they can make more
I don't
compost.
want the animals to eat the seeds.
No, well, but here's the thing. When we eat fruit, one of two things is going to happen. I mean, probably no one here, you or I or anyone listening with us right now, has ever accidentally swallowed an avocado or mango seed. They're pretty big, okay? And so we're going to eat around them. We're going to leave them on the ground, right? I like to say that we either spit the seeds out or we do the thing that rhymes with spit the seeds out, okay? We're living in nature. There's no toilets or one big one, and the seeds are going to wind up on the ground in perfect fertilizer, okay? And it's a different strategy. Small seeds, I mean, strawberries are covered with seeds. Should we avoid eating them? No. Do you need to pull the seeds off? No. We can't digest those seeds unless we chew them up. So most of those seeds are going to go right through your system, and if we lived in nature, they would wind up on the ground in perfect fertilizer, okay? Perfectly okay to swallow cucumber seeds. Don't chew them up. It's hard to because they're like a little sack of jelly. Same with tomatoes. By the way, I didn't mention tomatoes earlier as fruits because the United States government passed a law in the 1930s declaring the tomato a vegetable.
Oh, you don't eat tomatoes?
No, I didn't say that. I said
What
tomatoes. I said the U.S. government declared the tomato a vegetable almost 100 years ago. So tomatoes, of course, botanically speaking, are fruits, and they're perfectly. I know there are people out there telling you don't eat them because they're nightshades. Okay, ripe tomatoes and peppers have so little solanine in them that we don't have to worry about it. It's not a problem. Okay.
Yeah, I don't understand the nightshade thing either. I mean, I eat tomatoes and peppers, and I don't feel.
I'll make meals of tomatoes. I love tomatoes. I could eat 10 pounds of tomatoes at one time. Okay? It's not a problem. It's not a problem. If they're not ripe, there's going to be more of this toxin in them. But as they ripen, the toxins are going away. No problem at all. If you're super sensitive and you don't feel good when you eat them, then don't eat them. Of course, right?
Somebody asked, some people have said certain seeds can get stuck in the intestine, such as tomato seeds. Like, can these little seeds just get lodged?
I don't think you have to worry about that. I mean, it's probably possible. So if we look at the small intestine.
Like, is a watermelon going to grow?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's what my mother told me when I was a kid, right?
We all have that fear.
An apple tree growing in your system. So far, no apple trees have tried to make their way out. I think I'm okay. I don't think this is a realistic problem. I don't think we have to worry about this.
Okay.
But there, I mean, remember, my experience having guided roughly 11,000 people through long fasts is that stuff does get stuck. If you're eating the way I'm recommending, this won't be an issue because remember, the problem is stuff that's low in water and fiber is what gets stuck. If you're eating high water and fiber content fruits, fresh fruits, watermelon, tomatoes, no problem. There's not going to be anything getting stuck. It's all going to leave your body. Okay.
So the food, yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So the food list. Let's say we had a list of acceptable foods, right?
Right.
We're gonna have we'll definitely have the non-sweet fruits on there. We'll have the cucumber, the tomato, the peppers, and then let's go to the sweet fruits. We've got watermelon, papayas, mangoes. Let's see what else.
Well, I mean, I've got like more than 200 different varieties of fruit growing on my property. Many.
Do you do any berries or no?
Yeah,
do you do berries?
Absolutely. Berries.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They're amazing. And we talked a little bit about the fact that everyone's dehydrated. So summertime, right now in North America or Europe, you've got melons, strawberries, peaches, and nectarines. These are all very high in water. Okay, all melons, peaches, nectarines, strawberries are high in water. Most berries are pretty high in water. Blueberries are not so high in water. The other stone fruits are lower. So plums are after peaches and nectarines. Cherries and apricots are lower in water. So if you want to hydrate, you want to stick to the things that are higher in water. Grapes, not particularly high in water. Again, salads are very high in water. What's that?
Grapes are not.
Grapes aren't, no, grapes aren't very high.
Okay. Okay. Good to know.
Grapes are going to be around 82%. Watermelons around 92%. And some people say, well, it's only 10 points. Think of it this way. I'm going to oversimplify things because otherwise it gets very complicated. But stool is 75% water. So looking at this very simplistically, if you eat a meal of grapes and it's 82% water, and stool is 75% water, we could say, to keep it simple, that there's only the difference between 82 and 75 is 7 points that are available to your body of water. With watermelons, it's 17. So it's 2.5 times as much water available to your body. Mm-hmm. That's the way I would think about it. The higher the water content in the fruits, the better it's going to hydrate you. Bananas have less water than stool, which is why you might actually feel thirsty after eating bananas.
Does that mean that it's actually dehydrating you to make a bowel movement?
Well, I think it can be dehydrating. Again, it's a little bit more complex than I'm making it sound, but it's, you have a simple model to try to understand it. When something has less water than stool, again, I know you've heard this, Jamie, and a lot of people may not realize, why is everyone so dehydrated? Well, again, we're meant to eat high water content diets like every other species on the planet. Carnivores eat a high water content diet because they bite through the jugular vein of their prey, drink all the blood, tear them open, eat the water-rich internal organs, and then they eat the flesh without cooking all the water out of it and putting it between 2 dry pieces of bread. Okay, they eat it the way carnivore. I don't know any humans who eat meat the way carnivores do.
Yeah.
We're not set up that way. Okay, we're meant to eat a high water content diet. When we don't, we create issues because it takes water from the body. And my example of this, which you've probably heard, if you've eaten corn chips at some point in your life.
Yeah.
Okay. Corn chips are 3% water. Okay, 3%. When they come back out of your body, are they as dry as when they went in? You better hope not. Okay.
That would be painful. Yeah.
That would be pretty uncomfortable. So they go in 3%, they come out 75. They're taking water from your body. Most of the things that people eat are taking water from the body. It's
okay. Someone's asking about microgreens. Are microgreens okay?
Yeah, microgreens are okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And someone also said, I'm guessing you don't recommend nuts as well as any seeds. So yeah, how do you feel about like hemp seeds or flaxseed or chia seed, and then also nuts? Like, if you're soaking your nuts? Is it okay to eat nuts?
I'm sorry, you just asked me if I soak my nuts?
I did ask if you soak your nuts, is it okay to eat them?
If you're going to eat nuts, you should soak them first, okay? Because nuts and seeds which nuts are seeds, are protected by the plant with enzyme inhibitors, right? The point of eating raw is we have the enzymes available to break the food down. And when a banana goes from a hard green thing you could probably kill somebody with when it's unripe because it's that hard, to something that eventually, it ripens, it starts to turn yellow, it gets softer, it gets sweeter, as starch is being broken down to sugar. Eventually it becomes a pile of goo you wouldn't want to eat. And it's alcoholic, right? It's fermented. And it's the enzymes in the banana that are doing that work for you. So when you eat the ripe banana, you're getting sugar, carbohydrates. But remember, the structure of the banana is made of protein. The cell nucleus of the banana is made of fat. But the protein is broken down to amino acids, and that's why it loses its structure over time. Okay, the longer, the more ripe it gets. Eventually it goes beyond. It loses its structure. The fat that makes up the cell nucleus breaks down to fatty acids, And that happens as the fruit ripens. So if the fruit is actually ripe enough, you're getting all three of those things in a way that your body has very little work to do, which should be the goal. You want the body to do the least amount of work. Okay? Nuts and seeds are protected with enzyme inhibitors so they don't try to sprout until the right conditions are met. Okay? But if we eat them, if we pick up a nut under a tree and it's just falling off the tree, there's going to be enzyme inhibitors there. And we're going to want to soak them. If we get them like they're freshly off the tree, that's okay. The longer they're off the tree, the harder they're going to be to digest. So if you can pick them off the tree and eat them, that's okay. But if you're buying a bag of dry nuts, they're going to be pretty hard to digest. Soaking them activates the enzymes so that they can germinate. Now they're enzymatically active. They're alive again. It's like they're in a state of suspended animation. In fact, when I moved out of my first house, I'd been there for 12 years, and as I was cleaning up, I found a package of flower seeds that was 10 years old. And most seed packages have an expiration date. These seeds had expired like 8 years ago. And I thought, there's no harm. I took them out to the garden, tore the package open, sprinkled them on the ground to see if anything would come up. Sure enough, a few weeks later, there's flowers. And I thought, nature's amazing. These seeds were dry in a package, ostensibly dead all that time, but they weren't. They were in a state of suspended animation. The enzyme inhibitors allowed them to begin to germinate. Okay, they needed warmth, they needed darkness, and they needed water to remove the enzyme. They had the warmth and darkness. What they didn't have was the water. As soon as they got wet, up they come. Okay, so you do want to soak your nuts, and this is both for the ladies as well as the guys. You want to soak your nuts, guys. 12 hours is good for nuts. Most seeds, like sunflower seeds, are 6 to 8 hours should be enough. Mm-hmm. And they'll last. Nuts will last about a week in the fridge. Seeds, I think, after about 4 days, to me, they're probably already passed.
And really quick, we might as well speak about it since we're on. Do you want to touch on fermented foods?
Yeah. I touched on fermented foods briefly, right? Food ferments in nature if you leave it long enough. I'm living in the tropics now for 20 years. I've bitten into a lot of fermented fruits. Pineapples ferment very easily. Mangoes ferment easily.
Well, just fermented in general, like,
right.
When people purposely ferment.
I understand.
Okay.
Here, okay. I think this is a good starting point because when we you've bitten into a piece of fermented fruit before, right? What did you do? What was your natural response to
that? Spit it out.
Exactly. Okay, that is our natural response.
Yeah.
There are people who will tell you that we need the probiotic effect of the fermented foods. Actually, the research is pretty clear that unless you have destroyed your gut biome completely, they're probably not doing very much for you. Okay, I can tell you that. Again, my body's, I'm probably a little bit unusual. I don't know anyone else who's fasted as much as I have. I know people who've been raw, who've eaten the way I do for 30 years, but without fasting to clean the system out, they're not going to function the same way, okay? And my body is much happier if I don't eat fermented foods. If I eat, I can handle a little bit of sauerkraut or kimchi, which is spicy, but something like that, but not very much. I've eaten coconut yogurt from time to time. If I eat more than a little bit, my body says, that wasn't really a great idea.
Yeah.
I normally.
Yeah, I do it every once in a while, but not often. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this might actually talk on this subject. Somebody had a question a while back. It said, "What are your thoughts on someone who has taken 50 or more doses of antibiotics and have been raw for 7 years and are still having issues with autoimmune suttons?" I don't know what that means.
Okay. Well, 50 or more rounds of antibiotics. Is that what it said? That's a lot.
50 or more doses of antibiotics, been raw for 7 years, still having issues with autoimmune suttons.
Something.
I don't know what that means, but.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe it was a
Well,
typo.
I mean, probably. We see a lot of people who've had a lot of antibiotics and who, I mean, for most of us, right? Let me give you an analogy, okay? Let's say you've got a beautiful car. It is only 2 years old, but the previous owner drove it 300,000 miles and put the worst possible fuel in it. Okay, gummed up the engine. No, it's really a mess. But they can put kerosene, and your car will run on kerosene, not for very long, because it gets gummed up, but it will explode like gasoline does. It's kerosene is a very crude, unrefined petroleum product. Okay, so let's say you put that in your engine, it's a mess, and you think, oh, this fuel's not very good. You take it out, and you put in the best quality fuel you can. Is your car going to run well? You have to clean up all the garbage from the engine, all the stuff that's left over from the worst quality fuel you were putting in there before. And the same thing is true with our bodies. If you just change your diet, yeah, I mean, many of us, I was one of them. I definitely got much healthier as a result of adopting a raw diet, a fruit-based diet. And I think the same thing happened for you, Jamie, right? You saw some big improvements
Big
there.
changes.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
big changes. But for me and for most of many of my clients already have eaten a raw diet for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And they find that fasting, as I said before, 21 days was much more powerful than 22 years. So regardless of the fact that you're 7 years raw is great. That's amazing. But if you're trying to undo 20 or 25 or 30 years worth of poor choices, that may not be enough it may be enough for some people, but it may not be enough for some people. Okay. What I would say to you is if you're willing to and you can make it happen, let me guide you through a long and a fast. I'll guarantee anybody here in writing. Okay. I don't care what they've done. I don't care if they've been raw for 30 years. I don't care if they've done something else they think is better. If you're willing to fast with me for 21 days or more and you're coachable, you'll do what you need to, you will take your health to a whole new level. I promise you. Okay. Yeah. Now, let me suggest that. Bless you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it would be a good idea for you to entertain everybody for 2 minutes, because I've got 6 pounds of watermelon and I need to go pee again. I'll be right back.
Okay.
That probably wasn't the best pre-podcast meal,
Okay.
but it's 105 degrees here, so it felt like the right thing
Okay.
to do.
Go release.
All
Go
right.
release. Hey you guys, thank you guys. Do you guys have any more questions? This is such a fascinating conversation with Loren. He is a world-renowned fasting expert. In case you didn't hear in the beginning, he runs the world's largest water fasting retreat center. Uh-oh, what happened? The largest fasting retreat center in Costa Rica. And yeah, and for me, for any of you guys who don't know me, my name is Jamie Love. My channel is Ageless Beauty 143, and I have I run the Raw Food Worldwide Meetup. So you can follow Raw Food Worldwide Meetups. We do every 3 months. We're doing global raw food meetups. Hey guys, stay tuned. He's coming right back. He just went to the bathroom. So yeah, pretty exciting. Pretty exciting. We're losing some people here as soon as as soon as Loren walked away. Thank you guys for staying on. Hope you guys are all well. You guys can type it in the chat if you want. Have you guys done a long fast? Do you guys know Loren? Have you met him? Are you already eating raw? Mm. Hi, Steph. I see you in there. Thank you for being on. And Jen, too. Jen's in my Ageless Beauty membership community. So excited to have her here. Have I ever water fasted? I've never done a really, really long water fast, but the longest I've done was 4 days on water. But I've also been doing shorter fasts, like short fasts, for 20 years. So, oh, you did a 3 day. That's amazing. Yeah. So I started fasting 20 years ago, and I do intermittent fasting daily, and then I do periodic fast. Like I'll do 24 hours, 48 hours. I do these all the time. But yeah, one day I'll get to Tanglewood.
I hope so.
Welcome, welcome back.
Thank you. All right. Were there any other questions for me?
I don't think so. No, I think
Were there other topics that you wanted to get into? Are there any other things you're thinking about that we haven't covered yet? I have one.
this is what I was going to ask. Actually, this is a really great question because not everybody's they can choose. None of them is going to choose to eat a 100% fully fruit-based diet. And let's say someone's trying, or like they have a relapse, and then they have something cooked. What would be the best thing for them to do? Because, like for me, if I eat something cooked the next day, I fast. That's just naturally what I do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, fasting is a great response. That's one way to do it. The other thing to do would be to simply focus on simple high water content foods. Watermelon, salad, those things will help move out that material before too much of it gets stuck in the body. Because this is what happens. You know, we didn't talk, I sort of touched on that, but you know, again, if we look at our digestive tracts, they're on average 32 feet long. You're maybe a little shorter depending on someone's height, right? I'm 6 feet tall. Mine's going to be about 32 feet long. About 6 feet is going to be in the large intestine. And it starts in the right groin. It comes up on the right side of the trunk, gently loops over 90 degrees, comes across the belly, right around belly button height, gently loops 90 degrees down, comes down, and then over 45 degrees and out. And so, I mean, you might think, well, that sounds like more than 6 feet, but you know, it's kind of loose, but it's roughly going to be the same as your height. Your small intestine starts at the bottom of your stomach, which again is going to happen up in here, okay, up in your really upper abdomen, lower chest, and it ends at the ileocecal valve in the right groin. Now, on my relatively long torso, that's about 1 foot, 30 centimeters. Okay, in that 1 foot or 30 centimeters, there's roughly 22 feet of small intestine. The small intestine is 1/3 the diameter of the large. And if you were to look at the surface area, if you were to cut it and look at the cross-sectional area, it would be 1/9 that of the large intestine. So the large intestine is pretty straight, has no sharp turns. The small intestine, if you can imagine 22 feet in that much space, it's all twists and turns. Okay? Now it sounds like it's pretty small. I mean, 22 feet by half an inch diameter. To describe the circumference of a circle, it's 2 pi r. So 2r, if it's half inch, 2r is 1. 2 times half an inch is 1. 1 times pi, 3.1414, et cetera, right? So that's 3.14 inches times 22 feet. Let's call it 3 inches, because that's 1/4 of a foot, times 22 feet means you would have 5.5 square feet, which is 2 by 2.5 roughly. 2.5 by 2.5. It's 5.25. A little bit bigger than that. Not very big. 30 inches by 30 inches. That would be the area of your small intestine, if it were that simple. But the small intestine is sacculated like a vacuum cleaner hose. And the reason for that is to increase the surface area so we can absorb as many nutrients as possible. But, and it's so much bigger. I mean, think about the 5.5 square feet. Are you a tennis player by any chance, Jamie?
no.
I'm guessing a tennis court, I don't know how big a tennis court is. I'm guessing it's got to be at least 30 feet wide by 70, 80 feet long, something like that. If it's 30 by 80, just simple numbers. 30 by 80 is 2,400 square feet as opposed to 5.5 square feet. So it's a lot bigger than it sounds like because of those sacculations. And the reason for that is, again, is to maximize the absorption of nutrients. It's problematic, though, when we put things in there that we're not intended to consume, because we're absorbing more of that too. And what happens is anything that's low in water and fiber gets stuck in these sacculations. And that's how this old material builds up. And, you know, again, I know you may have talked to or will talk to people that will say, Loren's out of his mind. This stuff doesn't exist. Doctors say it doesn't exist. I've now fasted about 20 MDs. All of them will tell you, oh, it definitely exists. They learned
Wow.
at school that it doesn't, but then they had the experience of passing things that were hard and dry. And so it's
Wow.
important, here we're talking about diet. Again, it's important to understand we're meant to be eating things high in water and fiber, okay? If you own a dehydrator, you might want to kill it before it kills you. It's up to you. Um, I'll eat dehydrated food sometimes, but not very often, because it's taking the water out of your body, and it's likely to get stuck in your system. If you're eating things that are low in fiber, they're likely to get stuck in your system. You want to be careful about those things.
Wow.
Okay?
Okay, and I know we already touched on this, but it's a question. Are green juices an easier way to fast than just water?
Yeah, they're a much easier way to fast. No question about it. Even easier than that is McDonald's. That's the easiest way to fast. And I know that sounds silly, but here's my point. Fasting means a complete abstinence from calories and nutrients. Okay, so you can call drinking juices fasting, but it's not fasting. You can live on juices for the rest of your life. Okay, if you fast for the rest of your life will be much shorter because you'll die of starvation. Okay, we need to take that energy in. We need nutrients at some point. So when you drink juices, you're not really fasting. It's much easier because you're taking in food and your body still puts a lot of energy into processing the juices, all the nutrients. Remember, there's work involved to move all those nutrients through your system to get rid of what you don't need. So it's a lot easier because you're not actually fasting. You're working your digestive tract. Because of that, you're not going to go very deep. You're going to feel better. You're going to have more energy. You're going to, it's going to be much easier for you. Is it a good idea? I don't think so. We only touched on juices. Again, juices are processed. Okay, they're never superior to whole foods. If they're fruits, carrots, or beets, they're going to have 3 to 4 times the glycemic load, the impact on your blood sugar, of the whole foods they were made from. If they're made from greens are about 50% protein. Remember, excess protein is harmful to you and acts as a stimulant. So if you drink juices, you're going to feel good. You're going to feel energized. But and listen, I think it's really important to point something out. Everything is relative, okay? I have been quoted as saying, I have said before that juices are raw vegan junk foods. And what I mean is, of the stuff that's raw vegan, they're not nearly as good for you as whole foods are, okay? But certainly they're much better than most of the things that people consume. So I'm not saying they're terrible things. Obviously, drinking juices is much better than eating McDonald's and eating processed crap from the grocery store. But it's nowhere near as good as eating whole foods. And so I typically don't drink juices. Every once in a while I may, but it's probably a few times a year. Generally speaking, I am drinking spring water, which is what this is. I collected this from a local spring yesterday, and this is the best thing on the planet for us in terms of what we drink. Okay. Now, by the way, I want to touch on something while I'm thinking about it, Jamie, because I know so many people say, well, you should eat your water, right? You should get your water from your perfect foods. And yes, it's true, first of all, that the water in our fruits and vegetables is the best quality water that there is. Okay, it's this fourth phase gel water. It's better absorbed by the body. It's the best we can do. But remember, everyone's dehydrated from years or decades of eating stuff we shouldn't eat. And this isn't just an idea. We measure people's hydration now for 19 and a half years. We've measured roughly 7,000 people. Everyone's dehydrated. Some people severely dehydrated. Okay? So when you take a dehydrated body, if you give it the perfect foods, but you're not also drinking, every species eats a high water content diet, but animals in nature will drink water when they encounter clean water. Okay, they won't drink anything unless they're really dying of thirst. But if they encounter a clean source of water, clean spring or stream, they'll take the opportunity to drink water. People who are eating perfectly and not drinking water are making themselves dehydrated. We just had a guy who's been, I think, 12 or 15 years living on a fruit-based diet. He spends his time in Bali and Mexico, eating tropical fruit, drinking coconuts, but not drinking any water. And he was one of the most dehydrated people. He was with us until we ended our last session a couple weeks ago. He was severely dehydrated. This happens the only people more dehydrated than those folks are the folks who have a habit of dry fasting, which dehydrates them.
Now, speaking of drinking water, how much water do you drink a day, and how frequently do you drink it? Do you sip it? Do you chug it? Like,
Yeah.
what how do we drink water properly?
So I left this morning with this bottle full. It Oh, you know what? Hang on. It wasn't full. It wasn't full this morning because I already had some of it. So I've been working since 5 a.m. We're in the same time zone, so that's 11 and a half hours ago. And I've had 400 or 500 milliliters. But again, I want to be really clear. Okay, we've measured 7,000 people. I'm the most hydrated person we've measured so far.
Wow.
Okay, that's because I have fasted and because I usually eat a very clean, simple, easy to digest, high water content diet. The more stuff you're eating, all the things we've talked about today, there's a lot of things we haven't talked about. Salt, pepper. I mean, salt is harmful to the body, dehydrates you, right? All spices are taking water out of your system. So if you want to stay hydrated, you want to stick to the things. I mean, and again, I know, for a lot of people are going, that's crazy. I'm not going to give up all my favorite things. Well, you don't have to. But I'll tell you what happens to most people who do this is they find that they don't actually want anything except mono fruit meals and simple salads. You said earlier, Jamie, that you never felt better than when you're eating that way. Okay, most people find that there is no more desire for anything else once their body is clean and functioning well. So, and it's easy to stay hydrated. So, I mean, again, very occasionally I'll eat these things that contain dehydrating ingredients, but I typically stay away from them. And it's important to understand the salt, the pepper, the spices, the onions, the garlic, the capsaicin, the things we talked about earlier. These are all excitotoxins. Okay, they excite the taste buds, but they're actually toxic to us, and they damage your taste buds so that you lose the taste for anything else. And this is the danger. This is one of the reasons why gourmet raw food can be a little dangerous, because you eat it once, you're like, oh, that was really, really good, because it excites your taste buds in a way that natural flavors don't. Right. And you want more. And then the other stuff has less and less appeal. And for me, it's like I want to eat it once, then stay away from it. Within 2 or 3 days of going back to my watermelons and papayas, I'm going, oh yeah, this is where it's really at. This is what
Yeah. Gosh, that's so true.
There's one more piece I want to share with people.
Okay.
I think at least one more piece, but this one piece I think is important. And it is the idea that, let me introduce it this way. Across the street from us at Tanglewood, there's a farm, a pretty big farm, not huge, but it's got a bunch of cattle. And these aren't CAFOs. I mean, in the U.S., they're mostly confined animal feeding operations where it's like they're locked up. They're in stocks. They can't move. They can just eat and poop and pee, and that's it. Get milked if they're milking cows. The cows where I live, they wake up on a field of grass, and they look around and they go, holy crap, I've died and gone to heaven. I'm surrounded by grass. Okay? Cows are attracted to grass. Anteaters are attracted to ants. Giraffes are attracted to leaves on trees. I mean, they think they're delicious. They're not thinking, man, I wish I could have a mango, but I've got to eat the trees on, the leaves off of trees. That's what their bodies are actually attracted to. Okay, each species is attracted to the things that it's meant to eat. You and I are most attracted to fruits in their natural state. Yep, someone can make a gourmet raw food or a pie or something. It's going to taste incredible, excite our taste buds. But if we were to look at only the things available to us in nature, the things that are truly natural to our bodies, it would always be fruits, monofruit meals, simple leaves. That's it. Okay. So it's important to understand that if you're not sure about something, ask yourself a simple question: are you naturally attracted to it? Okay. Are you naturally attracted to broccoli? Does the side of the broccoli tantalize you the way the side of the mango or the papaya does? Not for me. How about the smell
Someone's
of it?
ask, someone's asking, are mono fruit meals the best? Mono fruit meals.
Yes, absolutely. And Logan, you know that already.
Okay. Any other last points
Well,
before we wrap up?
I want to demonstrate this point very quickly. Okay, you're walking down the beach, right? Remember, we're attracted to things we're meant to eat. You're walking down the beach, and there's a pile of seaweed on the sand. So I want you to tell me which of these two things is more likely to be true. A, you look at the pile of seaweed, your mouth begins to water. You think to yourself, "Oh my God, that looks delicious." B, you think, "I'm going to try not to step in that."
Yeah.
It's not something we're meant. You can eat it sometimes, but it's not something we're really meant to eat. Okay,
Gotcha.
we don't need to.
Gotcha. Fascinating stuff, Loren.
Yeah.
Thank you for blessing us with your knowledge and wisdom and experience.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure as always. There are a few things I like to do more than share this stuff. You know, my goal here is to empower every single person who's willing to listen to take their health to the highest level possible. I have seen what's possible over and over again. You know, for most people, it's better than they ever thought they could do. So
How can people
I'm really,
work with you? Like if they want to work with you more?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
How can they find you?
Oh, how
Do you
can
have?
people
Yeah,
find me? Okay, I'm
yeah.
sorry. So I'm a little old fashioned. I mean, the easiest way to reach me is probably via email. I don't. I'm on WhatsApp, as you know, but I don't really give it out to everybody because it's too much for me to deal with. So I get to emails usually within about 24 hours. Um, you can email me. I answer these personally currently. info@tanglewoodwellnesscenter.org. You can go there. You can also go to tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com, and there's a contact us button on every page. And when you click on that button, you can send a message. I read those messages. It goes directly to our email. So I read those myself. Okay? So that's probably the easiest way to reach me. Of course, I'm here on Instagram. You can message me on Instagram. If you're not already, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm live every Friday at 11 a.m. Costa Rica time. Almost every Friday for the last 7 or 8 years now. And what else? I have a YouTube channel. I'm locked out of it. I got hacked a while back and haven't been able to put anything new up in a while. We're gonna be correct. We're gonna probably start another channel soon.
Yeah. That's awful. Gosh.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
unfortunately there's some miserable people out there who think it's a good idea to mess with other people. I wish
Yeah.
everyone would just do whatever they could to help the world instead of trying to harm others. But
Yeah. Yeah. And stay tuned because Loren and we're going to plan another live for another day. And the next talk will be about fasting specifically. So come with all your fasting questions. We'll talk about Tanglewood and everything that they do there. And yeah, so thank you guys all so much for tuning in live with us, and especially if you came from part one. You guys have been troopers and you've been here for a while, so blessings to all of you. Appreciate you. And Loren, thank you so much for honoring me with your presence. I appreciate you so much for everything that you've been doing in the community the past few weeks, and this was such an honor to be able to have this opportunity to talk with you.
thank you, Jamie. Honestly, it's an honor to be here with you. I'm so happy to be able to share. It's wonderful that you're creating these channels that more and more people are paying attention to, and I'm so happy to be able to be here to share with people. So thanks everybody for your time and attention. It's been a pleasure to be with you, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.
All right. Thank you, guys. See
Take
ya.
care.
Bye, Loren. Till next time.